Well, hello there, and welcome to Throw Up Thursday. Barf your problems, you'll feel better. If you're new to this IG Live, you're welcome to put any sort of Q&A questions that you have for this time of COVID. You're welcome to put them in the comments, or there's actually a Q&A button. I don't really know how it works, but either way, if you've got questions, you are welcome to ask them. So, I am Dr. JJ Kelly. I am a psychologist and emotional intelligence coach and consultant. I probably shouldn't laugh while I'm saying that. The field of mental health needs some revamping, and this is one way that I have decided to help that along. I am the CEO and founder of Unorthodox Inc. I see one of our docs is on now, Olivia, who has done one of these, actually several of these now, IG Lives. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about, hi, hello, feel free to ask questions, you guys, but I sort of planned on, I guess if no one shows up to the live, I just want to teach something and then I can put on my story later, even though I still have no idea how to download an IG Live to my phone. I've asked everyone that I know and no one knows, so if you know, let me know. So the theme, COVID. Yikes, the times of COVID. We'll be looking back on this and I don't know, it's going to seem like a dream. It seems like a dream now. So, all right, let's talk about how to cope. The thing that we've been talking about for weeks now and that I've been noticing out in the world is that everything in the air, society with the lockdown and the quarantine is hovering at a little bit of a higher level of anxiety. If this is society's baseline, cruising along, we're out, we're going, we're getting drinks, we're going to restaurants, we're going to movies. If this is the norm, everybody is hovering a little bit over baseline right now. So what does that mean? How does that translate to life? Well, it means that the small things that would have stressed you out once upon a time are now probably spiking your anxiety, would have gone from your baseline to here. Since you're already here, it's higher. So let's talk about that just a little bit. What I teach is dialectical behavior therapy. And if you don't know what that is, dialectics is just kind of a fancy term for a paradox, two seemingly opposing things existing at the same time. The people I work with are used to seeing me do this and talk about the Venn diagram all the time. Everything in DBT and life, I would argue, is the Venn diagram. So in the modules that I teach, mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness, you think that kind of skill set would come in handy right now, maybe, when people are locked up with their loved ones that are driving them crazy and they're feeling high anxiety all the time now? Anyway, in DBT, we talk all about dialectics in this Venn diagram. And the way DBT does it is acceptance and change. So that's here. So how that translates practically is that one's validation and problem solving. So in some sort of environment like this, or like school or therapy sessions, it translates to validation and problem solving. But validation has to come first. So if you are outside and you're taking a walk and you can feel a little bit of tightness in your chest as you're walking to the store, maybe you have an emotional vocabulary and you're able to name that might be a little extra anxiety on board. If you can't, you can always Google some emotion words and start building your emotions vocabulary. But let's say you're walking to the store and you're hovering a little bit higher than your norm because it's quarantine, and you walk past someone and they don't have a mask on. So your response to that, you may be triggered. We try not to use the word trigger in ours, but you might be triggered by the fact that somebody doesn't have a mask on. And it can range from anything to, oh, that's cool, they probably can't breathe while they're walking and they'll just like put it on when they go in the store. You might think that. You might also think that I'm trying not to swear. That person's a monster. Why the fuck don't they have a mask on? What do they not know? It's a pandemic here. Blah. Now, I am not here to argue with what your response to that is. I've actually been staying away from the whole COVID thing because everyone's hovering. Yeah, the righteous anger. Totally. And isn't it delicious to think we are the smartest one during a pandemic? Because why? Why would we even go there? Like, anxiety turns really nice people into assholes. I'm the smartest one. Well, because we're scared. If we train ourselves, even with a irrational belief that we're doing everything right, then that's like this fake way that we justify to ourselves that we won't become ill. So this whole concept of validation is we're going to validate the emotions that we're having. A high hovering anxiety all the time. Let's just like get on board with that right away. Is that each one of us probably are hovering a little higher than our norm as far as anxiety. So if you are starting to practice building an emotions vocabulary so that you can validate your emotional experience so that you can then regulate your emotions, let's start with, what am I feeling today? Okay, fear. Where am I feeling? In my chest, in my stomach. I'm holding my shoulders a little bit. Like, these are ways to start building an emotions vocabulary. So back to the example. You're passing somebody on the street and they don't have a mask on and you feel a hit of anxiety. What do you do? So in dialectical behavior therapy and what we learn and teach and practice in Unorthodox Inc. is we validate the emotional experience. So fear, maybe anger, frustration, a little bit of sadness maybe is in there. It's whatever you are experiencing. You name that emotion and then you decide what you want to do about it. So that's validation, and then you go to problem solving. But the validation has to come first. And let me be clear, you are validating what you feel, not what you think. And not necessarily what you do either. Because if you react from that angry, that self-righteous anger place of like, what does this monster not have a mask on for? Then you might say something, I don't know, give him the finger, give him the Berkeley disapproving head shake. Or whatever, you might behave in a way that doesn't match your values, and then that creates shame. So I'm not talking about not validating shitty behavior just to be polite. I'm telling you to validate your emotions, not your shitty behavior, which we all engage in from time to time. We don't validate the behavior because we don't want to create shame in ourselves. It's not about being a nice person. It's about walking around in the world with an intact sense of self and self-esteem and reducing our experience of shame in the world. This thing is judgmental head shaking that goes on, that, whether you would care to agree with me or not, probably creates some level of shame for you or for any of us that engage in that kind of self-righteousness. So you validate whatever emotion you're having when you're passing somebody that's not wearing the mask, assuming that that's something you don't agree with. So you validate your emotion, and then you don't do anything yet. The key is, do not engage in mood-dependent behavior. That leads to impulsiveness. So we validate the emotion we have, the fear, the anger, whatever we're feeling, and then we decide once we have named it, because naming it means now we're observing it, and we've created just enough distance between our emotional experience and like who we are and who we want to be, in order to now make a decision of how we want to behave based on the emotion that we are experiencing. It's not who we are, it's what we're experiencing. If we feel anger in that moment, it doesn't mean we're an angry person. It means we are experiencing the emotion of anger, and we can do something about that. We can make a choice. We don't have to engage in some sort of impulse that is propelled by the experience of anger, because we've now named it, we've slowed down the process, and we can choose how we want to behave. And that choosing keeps us in alignment with our values. And then we're not eroding self-esteem. And then we're not creating more shame on top of the fear we're already feeling every day when we wake up. So this is about regulating your emotions so that you can operate in the world in a way that you want to show up, instead of creating situations and messes and conflict that now adds to the mess of what we are overall experiencing. It's already a mess. So let's get through it with as much dignity as we can. And when it's over, we might actually be a better version of ourselves, or at least we didn't erode self-esteem during the pandemic, and we got to go clean up that mess as well as start to move forward from this mess. You feel me? So if anyone has a question, go ahead and put it in the comments. If you don't, that's cool. I will cut out too. I think that I'm sort of testing how long one of these needs to be, where I can then still save it on the phone, because the little quick test runs seem to be saved, and the longer they get, the less chance that they're going to be saved. Okay, no questions? Okay, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Okay, then let me just recap. All the small stressors that not in a pandemic would be no big deal are probably going to be a big deal right now, just because you're hovering a little higher than normal. It's okay. It's understandable. It's human. We want to have compassion for ourselves during all of this stress without giving ourselves permission to be a dick. Not because we want to be polite to other people. Yeah, that's the nice byproduct. But it's so that we are behaving according to our own values. We're not eroding self-esteem, and we're not engaging in behaviors that cause shame. Sound good? I mean, it sounds pretty fucking easy too, although it can be quite difficult in the moment. And that's what mindfulness teaches. That's what emotion regulation teaches. If you want to know anything more about this kind of stuff, it's at drjjkelly.com. And we're putting out hella free stuff on Instagram and my YouTube channel too. So learn as much as you can. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Take good care. Bye.